We are back with a brand new video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about whether the Miami Heat can actually acquire Donovan Mitchell in the offseason or not. We're going to be talking about all the rumors that are going around and how, the Utah Jazz could approach this as well. So make sure you guys drop a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Also, check out the second channel in the pinned comment. And let's get right into it, man. So there has been a lot of rumors over these past couple weeks since basically the Utah Jazz got eliminated about, the Jazz looking to blow it up, and then, other teams interested in Donovan, teams interested in Rudy Gobert. And we're going to be talking about, if the Heat are realistically, how good of a chance do they have to acquire Donovan Mitchell in free agency? Because there's been some rumors from Jake Fisher, from Sports Illustrated, from, people who are like pretty credible, saying that Donovan Mitchell to the Heat is a possibility, and the Heat are actively monitoring that situation. And the Heat have been interested in Donovan for a while, man. That's been something that has been pretty well known, that Donovan to the Heat has always been linked. It's kind of like Oladipo to the Heat, when there were so many rumors about that. And Donovan to the Heat has been something that's been like, it's been like fan driven at times, but like sometimes you've had like actual credible guys like the New York Post, you've had Sports Illustrated, like I said, Jake Fisher from Bleacher Report. Like, these guys are pretty credible, and they've said that the Heat are actively looking to pursue Donovan Mitchell in the offseason. Now, first of all, what I have to say, before we even start this, is that the Heat are currently in a playoff, race right now, and they have to worry about, finishing, winning the championship instead of Donovan Mitchell at this moment. And we'll see what happens. Currently they're up 3-2 against Philly, and if they win the game 6, then they'll move on to the Eastern Conference Finals. But a lot of this is going to depend on how well the Heat, finish off the year, and because we already know that the package for Donovan Mitchell is going to revolve around Tyler Herro, and it's pretty it's not fair to assume otherwise for the Utah Jazz. If you're a Heat fan, you have to assume that if Donovan Mitchell is coming to the Heat in a trade, Tyler Herro is being sent the other way, and that is something that everyone is going to have to accept. And it's not going to be just Tyler Herro too, by the way. You're going to have to throw in Duncan Robinson's contract to match up the the salary, maybe some picks, maybe another young guy like Yurtseven. That's most likely going to be the package. And if you're a Heat fan, if you're a Jazz fan, you're going to have to accept that the main attraction for this deal for the Jazz would be Tyler Herro going the other way. So the what will have to be seen is the play of Tyler Herro throughout these playoffs. In the Sixers series, he had a really good game 1 and 2, but then kind of struggled in games 3 and 4 and 5 when the Sixers were blitzing him. So we'll see, if Tyler can up his game, and if the Heat, because the Heat need to find a reason to trade Tyler. They didn't in 2020 when James Harden was available, because they wanted to keep Tyler, and they wanted to keep, they saw something in him for the future. If the Heat see the same thing, in Tyler that they saw back then they're probably not going to want to trade him, which means, unfortunately for the Heat, I don't think they can get Donovan Mitchell. But if Tyler Herro disappoints in these playoffs, which I hope he doesn't, because I'm a Heat fan and I want the Heat to win a championship, then maybe the Pat Riley and Andy Ellisberg will see that, the ceiling with this team at Tyler Herro's best isn't as high as what you could get with Donovan Mitchell. So we'll have to see. It all depends on like the play of Herro, basically, because if the Heat want to trade Herro, or not want to, but if they're willing to trade Herro for Donovan Mitchell, then this deal is a possibility. But if they're saying that Herro is untouchable like they were back in 2020, then I don't think this deal is going to happen. So that's the main thing. It's going to be how well the Heat finish off the season, whether Pat Riley and Andy Ellisberg realize or feel the need to make a trade. If they get to the finals, or if they win a championship, they might not even want Donovan Mitchell. They might just be content with the team that they have and get little additions here and there to improve their roster. But if they disappoint in their standards, which is probably not making the finals, then that's when you have people saying, okay, they need this, they need that, and then the front office might look to make a big splash here or there, and that could involve a Donovan Mitchell trade. So that's the main thing I have to say, is that this all depends on how well the Heat finish off the season and how well Tyler Herro is playing to end the season, because for the Heat to trade for Donovan Mitchell, they need to have a reason to trade Tyler Herro to the Jazz. The second thing that we got to talk about is the Utah Jazz, because obviously they've been disappointments throughout, I don't know, the past like 3-4 years. They've always been like these regular season merchants where they finish well in the regular season and then in the playoffs, something just happens where they disappoint. And, you know, I'm not a Jazz fan, but like for me watching the Jazz, it's kind of obvious that they don't really have, first of all, perimeter defense on that team is non-existent. Apart from Royce O'Neal, who's an average defender, they don't have any defensive stopper on the wing. Number two, they're very and like too far reliant on their three-point shooting, and they have been for the past couple of years to win them games. Number three, they don't really have a second star that can really take over whenever Donovan Mitchell is struggling or getting trapped on the perimeter, and even like down low. Rudy Gobert is not a guy who's going to be an offensive threat most of the night. He's really there for his defense, obviously. So those are like the main reasons why the Jazz have been failing, and getting a guy like Tyler Herro will definitely fix that. But make no mistake about it, if you're the Jazz, you're not going to want to trade Donovan Mitchell. You're going to want to trade Rudy Gobert. So I think the Jazz, will want to trade Rudy Gobert. I think they should trade both of them. And I think because let's say they trade Rudy Gobert, Rudy Gobert's contract is ridiculously high. His contract is, I'm pretty sure, the highest in NBA history. And we all know that's an overpay. They had to do it because, they're a small market and they were going to lose him and they weren't really going to get a guy back for him. But his contract is just way too high for them to get an equal trade back, especially because, he's already on the market. So his value is already lower. Plus you add the contract to that situation and that makes his value even more lower. So whatever they trade Rudy Gobert for is not going to be enticing, in my opinion. I think it's going to be, you might get, a guy who's like a really solid role player. Like I've seen trades to the Raptors, and if I'm the Jazz, I'm calling up the Raptors and asking for OG Anunoby because he really solves that wing defense problem. And I've seen him on some nights be like a secondary star or secondary guy who can, win them a game. But like, even like if the Jazz got OG Anunoby and they had to give up Gobert in that situation, they'll probably have to, give up more pieces both ways. I'm not expecting Donovan Mitchell to be happy because like, OG is cool, but I want to win. And, he's not really putting us over the top. You're not getting a star for Rudy Gobert is what my point is. So let's say they trade Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell is automatically pissed off because although there's been some friction between him and Gobert, he ultimately has always said that he wants to win. And, if they trade Rudy Gobert, they're ultimately going to get worse for the present. Now, for the future, they might be better because they might get some young pieces here and there. But Donovan Mitchell does not want to be part of a future rebuild. He wants to be part of a winning team right now. So he might just request a trade as soon as they trade Rudy Gobert as well, and say, I want out of the situation because I do not want to be part of a long-term rebuild. I want to win a championship now. And yeah, that means they might have to trade him too. But I think the Jazz are going to try to trade Rudy first. I think it's the Jazz obviously value Mitchell, and Rudy is on Mitchell is on a friendlier contract. Mitchell is younger by like a large margin. I think he's the better player. Like, they're gonna want to trade Rudy, but I think that if you trade Rudy, Mitchell's also gonna request a trade because whatever you're gonna get for Rudy isn't really good enough for Mitchell to stay, in my opinion. So, I think that they should trade both ultimately, and I think that the Heat is a perfect destination for me for Donovan Mitchell, because I think when you go to the Miami Heat, if you're Donovan Mitchell, you don't have to do a lot of things that you're not used to doing. Like for the Jazz, he was taking on a lot of different roles. He was being the playmaker some nights, he was being the scorer some nights. If you're on the Heat, they're only going to ask you to do one thing, and that's score the ball. You have guys who can play make, like Kyle and Jimmy for you. When Donovan Mitchell goes on the Heat, he will become the best scorer on the team because he can score from 3 levels like almost nobody can. This is a guy that can drop 50 on like any night. So he's going to be a bona fide scorer if he joins the Heat, and you won't have to worry about anything else. Now I can say, granted, his defense has been a question mark, but I think you can cover up his defense when you play in Miami. We've had guys like Herro and Robinson be liabilities in the years past, and even like sometimes now on the defensive end, and the Heat have covered up for it by switching and trapping and blitzing and stopping people from hunting mismatches at times. So I think if you're Donovan Mitchell, you obviously have to put in effort. That's like the main thing. If you want to play in a Heat jersey, effort is going to be, you know, like not putting in effort is out of the question. So you're gonna have to put in effort on the defensive end. But even if you're not, like, if you don't have the physical tools to be a good defender, you can still get hidden defensively in that system. So I think this is a perfect fit for him, because all he has to do is just, he has to be asked to score the ball, and then you know, he'll get set up, he'll get spoon fed whenever he needs to be by Jimmy and Kyle. Now Jimmy will also be scoring the ball as well. I think this is a perfect fit. And then, you know, once Jimmy and Kyle get older, you kind of have him and Bam as like the faces of the team for the future, and then that's like a really good transition period for this team. As you know, guys like Jimmy, PJ, Kyle, like these guys get older and start to, you know, fade. You got the new generation in Donovan and Bam, who are both in the same draft class. And both of these guys are going to be the face of the team for the future. So I really like this for Miami. I think Miami, you know, like I said, it all depends on how they finish off the playoffs. It all depends on how Tyler Herro plays and whether they find a need to give up Tyler Herro. But, you know, I think that if they need to give up Tyler, like if they want to give up Tyler Herro, if they want to make a big splash after disappointing in the playoffs, Donovan Mitchell is like a perfect guy to get, because he's already, like, I don't want to say on the market, but like he's already rumored about going there. So he obviously, you know, doesn't really mind going there. And the Jazz have to make a move, because the Jazz cannot stick with this team that they have stuck with for like the past how many ever years. So I think this is a match made in heaven if it happens. But we'll have to wait and see, you know, how the Heat finish off the playoffs, and how, you know, and whether if they find a need or want to trade Tyler Herro or not, because he will obviously be the main attraction of this piece, of this trade. So yeah, that's basically all I have to say about the Donovan Mitchell situation. You know, hopefully, you know, we'll figure this out in the offseason more. I'll make more videos about it, but I just wanted to make it now because we had a lot of rumors floating around. But yeah, that's where we're gonna wrap up the video, man. Leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Check out the second channel. I'll see y'all later as always. Peace.